Let's find out from an immigration legal point of view. Harjap Singh Bhangal is an immigration lawyer. Harjap, good afternoon to you. I mean, Richard Tice has outlined it there. It's oddly quite simple. It's just that nobody has got the political will or gumption to put it into action.
Well, I don't think having a row with the French is going to solve anything. How do you think Le Pen is going to feel if you say to her, oh, you've got to take these people back? You know, we've all seen the attitude there. I don't think that's going to work. Catching the gangs is one of the solutions to it, but also cooperation with our European partners, not confrontation, cooperation. If you're going to stop these gangs operating in Europe, you've got to catch them. You've got to secure your borders. That requires a Europe-wide effort because we know they operate on the coast of almost every country. So whether migrants are coming from Africa, whether they're coming from Afghanistan, whether they're coming through the Slovak Republic, on that border, we have to have cooperation and not confrontation.
But Harjap, Richard Tice is saying, look, they've tried all that diplomatic stuff. They've thrown money at it. They've had conferences. They've stood side by side with the country's flags behind them. We're going to solve this. Nobody has. Richard Tice's contention is that the French are actually breaking the law by allowing this to happen. It's a French problem. Therefore, it's our right to return those people back to where the problem began. And that is the French administration who are ultimately responsible.
Well, we haven't tried everything because Italy has just recently signed a deal to open a processing centre in Albania, which is its nearest country. Now, why would they do that if they thought it wasn't going to work? And they've got a huge problem as well. We were offered a processing centre in France. We turned it down under Priti Patel. The French were going to pay for it as well and give us the land for it. So we haven't tried that. When we catch a smuggling gang, if we ever catch one, the odd one a year we do catch, guess how much we give them? There was a case 3 or 4 weeks ago, 3 years inside. They made a few million, 5-6 million. Now, if I said to you 3 years, you'll be out in a year and a half, you make 5-6 million, you'd probably take that up. So would I. Yeah. Right. So we're not giving them. If we'd said, right, life, you're going to get life if you smuggle people, doesn't matter how many millions you make, they might think about it twice. But, we haven't tried everything.
But you're never going to stop, and that's already illegal, of course, in all countries to be a people smuggler and facilitate this kind of trade. So, I mean, as Richard Tice just said, catching them and jailing a few of them that's not going to stop it, is it? Because, like a drug dealer, you know from being a lawyer, you take a drug dealer off the street, another one replaces them.
Yeah, but locking up drug users isn't going to stop drug dealing either. Locking up asylum seekers and in processing centres such as Rwanda and stuff like that, that hasn't deterred anyone. In fact, the biggest deterrent to channel crossings, you and I know, is the weather. So unless we're going to manufacture some artificial weather... Well,
there's a lot of conspiracy theories that we do that already, but that's a whole other story maybe. Right, yeah, but is it not, if we've reached... I mean, you could have processing centres, as you rightly say, but there's still going to be some people who want to cross who don't want to go through that official route and believe that they will be far more successful if they get in a boat and sail across the channel.
This is where you've got to get the smugglers because they operate from the same place. I can't believe that for the past 20 years, you and I know that these gangs operate from the coast of Calais. They drop people off on the Kent coast using the same routes, the same modus operandi. Before it used to be lorries.
We can't catch them, apparently.
And they're 20 steps ahead of us. It's almost like me saying, Ian, catch this bus driver. He goes for 20 years, he's driving the same bus.
Yeah,
A to B.
Number 76, always there, from that road to that road. I mean, and I make this point often, we've not got just one, but two governments, two Home Secretaries, two intelligence services, two militaries, all looking at this, and nobody can find these people. I mean, are they just the world's cleverest criminals, or are there that many of them they really can't? Or is there ultimately no will to try and stop them?
The answer to that is, if we can go and get bin Laden holed up in a stronghold with whereabouts unknown, Gaddafi, Saddam, put these people on trial in their strongholds, have elite military units, and we can also fund other countries for their war. Why can't we have our own units with like the SAS who can go and catch these gangs and eliminate?
So?
Well, they're there. We have the facilities to do that. So maybe it is a lack of political will. Maybe it is strategic. But then we have to look at people smuggling makes more money than drug smuggling.
I'm sure it does.
It's a big operation.
Harjap, what do you make of Mr. Tice's point, which is Reform UK's point that actually it's legal to turn the boats around. You can. We're often told by politicians. I think David Cameron quite recently came out and said, look, it sounds like a smart idea, but it's just not possible. Their contention is that actually the United Nations diktats allow for this to happen.
Well, we'd have to break conventions and break agreements, and that is not going to.
But they're saying, so what? So what if they break agreements?
Well, this is what he's saying. He's saying we're going to do what we want. So what?
We'll have a row with the French, and eventually it'll go away.
So what if the French say we're going to send all of our lot that we take in to the UK? So what? And put them all on dinghies. What are we going to do then? If we have that attitude,
then the task force that Reform will put in place will send them all back.
What? All a million of them? France taking.
Well, not all at once, I would imagine.
How many France take in a year? So what about to say, actually, we're going to signpost every single one. There you go. We're going to supply the dinghies and say, so what? What are you going to do? You're going to end up in war. Is that what we want? That's absurd. And we're not in the times of Napoleon and Nelson. We're not having this. This requires cooperation Europe-wide with people talking common sense, and it might require a mixture of everything: processing centres, SAS elite units to catch the gangs, and a reform of the whole system, and a whole stopping them at source. Maybe investment in countries that where they come from as well, to create jobs and opportunities there, so they're less inclined to come over here. And also it might require why don't we talk about the common sense things? Why does it take 2 years to process a claim? Why is Richard Tice not saying, actually, we're going to speed up their claims and then we're going to deport them quicker? Why haven't we got removal units which can...
Because he's saying that these people should not be here in the first place, and there is a quicker way to do it, and they can do it in 100 days and stop the whole thing dead. Which
the UK government successively have never been able to stop in 30 years. Proof is in the pudding. It's easy to say stuff when there's sort of make promises when there isn't an inclination that you might form a government. It's actually doing it. If it was possible in 100 days, do you not think Rishi Sunak would have wanted that? Do you not think he wants to win this election? Of course he does. He's on the road every day. Do you not think Suella Braverman and Priti Patel would have done that rather than lose their jobs? Of course they would have done that. If it's possible, it would have been done. So it's lovely wordplay, but we know that people often say a lot during election time and then get very few bits done.
All right.
So let's talk sense.
Harjap, and we will speak again. As I said to Richard Tice, this isn't going away. Harjap Singh Bhangal, immigration lawyer, with us here on the programme.